No,
It's on.
meeting is now streaming. Okay, we're good. I have to read this epistle. Thank you. I have to read this epistle. It says, pursuant to the Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain
Okay,
provisions.
no.
Pardon?
It's on.
Meeting is now streaming. Okay. I thought it was. Pursuant to the Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law GLC 30A 18 and the Governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Southborough Council on Aging will be conducted by a remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and or parties with a right and or a requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the Town of Southborough website at https://www.southboroughtown.com.
You're talking too fast for me. You guys slow down, Bill.
You don't have to record this, Marie, at all.
No, I'm not, but I just want to make certain highlights of it.
No, don't bother. Don't bother.
Okay.
This is just a requirement that I read this. We don't have to have this in our,
All right.
I don't believe. Let's see, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on Southborough's website an audio video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. Agenda. All items may have one or more votes taken to the extent action is required. That is a required thing that I read before we open the meeting, so the meeting has been called to order. First item of business is review of last month's meeting minutes and any discussion or any changes or anybody want to say anything about them. You received them, I believe, in my notification that we're having a meeting. Anybody have any comments? No. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a
Now, wait a
second?
minute, did he,
Second.
Doug,
can I just say something? I thought he said it had to be done by roll call.
We will roll call.
Any
after
vote
we-
had to be done by,
We will roll call, Marie, after we get the motion and the second. We have a
Okay, who
motion
made the
by
motion?
Doug. We have a second by
Second.
Russ. Russ is not a regular member, so it's got to be one of our regular members.
I second. Can you hear me?
who was that?
That was Mike,
Oh, where did you come from?
my mother.
How come you're not on our screen?
I'm under Mark something, you Cam.
Oh, that's you? Oh, yeah, okay, hi,
I don't know why
All
my
right, so-
camera's not working, but
okay, all right.
I'll
Marie,
try to
you
get
have a
it working.
motion. Marie, you have a motion by Doug and a second by Mike Backer.
Okay,
Okay, now we'll have a roll call vote. All in favor? And this will be regular members only. Bill Harrington, yes. Somebody else?
you have to indicate who we are because none of us know who the real members are.
Well, there is
Who the voting members.
myself and Marianne and Sandy and Doug and you and Joyce.
Okay, call us out one by one and then we'll
Okay.
say aye.
All right, I'll do that. All right, Marianne,
I was not present at the March meeting.
okay.
You can abstain.
Sandy,
Yes, yes.
Doug,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Joyce.
Aye.
Okay, that's it, Marie. All right, so we have that done. Now, what we're gonna do this morning is we have to look at Pam's performance evaluation, and I have put together what I think is an appropriate evaluation. She is gonna come on, join us after we go through this little bit. So I'm going to go through this sort of broad brush, but if anybody has a comment either during this or later or sometime, please let me know. It's long and tedious, and I'm not quite sure how I should exactly go through it, but the evaluation, there are 5 different types of evaluation for each item. The evaluations are exceptional, above expectations, meet expectations, does not meet expectation, or unsatisfactory. And there are 4 criteria. The first one being quality of work and job knowledge. The second one being productivity. The third one being communication. The fourth one being collaboration. So I'm going to go through
Bill, do you
these.
think you can send that to me? Do you think you can send that to me
Um,
by email?
I don't think I need to.
Okay,
And I'd rather not send this. That's the reason I didn't give you all a copy, which would have been good if we could have had copies, but I was very reluctant to put this on an email because I think it's very
Okay.
confidential and doesn't need to be out there. Carol, where did you go?
I think my Wi-Fi must have gone down because I'm on my phone now. I
Oh,
was on and then all of a sudden it cut out.
Yeah, okay. We're going
Sorry.
into, we're doing, have you heard what's going on or not?
I just came back in
Okay.
about
Well,
15 seconds ago.
we're reviewing Pam's performance evaluation, which I have to submit.
Okay,
So going into the first item criteria, quality of work and job knowledge, I have given her 4 above expectations, 2 meet expectations. These are the items that are under this criteria. Employees' understanding of rules, procedure, workflows, policies, and operations, above expectations. Demonstrations, expertise and skill knowledge within areas relevant to one's own function and or work group, above expectations. Measures business decisions with customer and public satisfaction in mind, meets expectations. Information shared publicly is accurate, thorough, and complete, meets expectations. Acquires and maintains skills and knowledge required for the position and area of expertise, above expectations. Work performed with very few errors and mistakes, above expectations. So those are where I put her on those items. The comment below is, since Pam has held her position for over 18 years, she has accumulated a great amount of knowledge and experience as to what her job entails, and she is challenged each day to employ the same by the town's seniors and staff. Given her years of experience, she is also looked to by her peers in the surrounding towns to advise and counsel. At the same time, she realizes that they can be a resource for guidance when her needs arise. Pam also maintains close contact with the Mass Council on Aging. I went through that fast, and I don't know if, can you guys comprehend what I've said, and is this working?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that's the first criteria. Is there any comments that you'd like to add? If there's something you'd rather say one-on-one with me later on, we can do that too, but otherwise we'll do it right here.
Are there other criteria, Bill?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna go number 2, 3, and 4, but this is number 1.
Well, the thing is, if we have comments, they may be more related to something we don't know what's coming, like another criteria, so.
Okay, well, you want to keep a note that you have something for criteria 1, and then we'll go at the end. Does that make
All right.
sense? Okay, so that's quality of work and job knowledge. Number 2, productivity. Accuracy, neatness, thoroughness, and completeness of work duties performed, above expectations. Work assignments are planned, organized, and analyzed for optimum results, above expectations. Implements appropriate cost-saving measures, meets expectations. takes action on assigned projects without being directed to do so, and looks for opportunities to move projects along above expectation. Employees' willingness to take on extra work when required by circumstances, exceptional. Employees' ability to meet deadlines in a timely manner, above expectations. Project goals and task deadlines are routinely met, above expectations. Accomplished previously established goals and objectives, meets expectations. And comments, Pam follows up on promises in an appropriate, timely manner. Pam and her staff are all hard workers. Pam expects a lot of her staff, and they in turn always respond, going above and beyond expectations. Occasionally, she needs to pull in the reins a bit.
What was the heading for that?
That was productivity.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. Third criteria is communication. Employees' ability to accept and understand criticism and take appropriate action to correct and improve performance, meets expectations. Team player, maintains open communications with other employees in the organization and is conscientious, dependable, and hardworking, exceptional. Appropriately communicates to constituents when needed, follows up promptly with peers, board when needed, above expectations. Employees' ability to communicate both verbally and in writing, above expectations. Employee performs well based on use of active listening skills, meets expectations. Actively solicits feedback from peers, others to determine needs and understand concerns, above expectations. Customer service, is it able to find the right approach depending on situation with colleague, official, peer, and is articulate and diplomatic when under pressure, which is in parentheses. Exceptional. Comment, Pam is an excellent communicator. When an issue needs to be addressed, she deals with it in a very timely manner and generally verbally, which is more effective. She has excellent lines of communication with her staff. Her written reports are well-written and articulate. In discussion, she can be very persuasive if she feels she is right. I think we all know that one. Then the fourth criteria is collaboration, interpersonal skills. Contributes to a positive working environment through behavior, demonstrates commitment to their work, above expectations. Makes effective decisions, above expectations. Employees' success in gaining cooperation from peers, meets expectations. Facilitates sharing of methods and knowledge, demonstrates mentoring ideas and tasks, above expectations. Willingly places extra time and effort to meet deadlines and accomplish goals, assumes additional responsibilities as needed, exceptional. Exhibits strong interpersonal skills, presents willingness to offer counsel to others, above expectations. Board relations, is responsive and timely when dealing with appointed elected board and cognizant of MGLs that apply to department organization, meets expectation. Comments, Pam works well with her staff, board, and peers. In dealing with others, she uses good discretion and is sensitive and tactful with her communications. That is her performance evaluation. Comments? Okay.
Bill, who was able to make the comments? Regular members or everyone here?
Anybody, as far as I'm concerned. If you
Okay.
have
Yeah,
something you
what was
want to say, Brent, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to say it's probably under productivity, but I think one of her great strengths is her ability to delegate. I mean, she does a great job delegating all of the.
Therefore, I don't know what that means.
I think it means the live YouTube is stopped.
You guys are okay. That's on my end. Don't worry about it. Keep going.
Okay, thank you.
Pam, I'm not going to let you in yet. Pam, can you hear me? I guess she can't hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you, Bill.
We're still on your evaluation.
Okay,
I will,
I'm not sure that's, you should be, yeah. It's a public meeting, so I'm not sure you want to be doing that,
Oh, that's right.
so.
well, we had to do it.
Yeah, I know. It's just, I just heard that, so. All right, you want me to go out? What do you want me to do?
Can you go out? Maybe I can, Tim, are you still there?
Yeah. Hey, Pam.
Tim?
Pam, I'll put
Tim.
you in the waiting room. Yeah, I'll put you in the waiting room, and then when they're done, I'll bring you back in.
Okay, cool. All right.
Thank you, Pam. Hey, Tim?
Yeah.
Pam's comment about this is a public meeting and this is really not public information. Is there some way that this cannot be recorded or unrecorded or mute?
Unfortunately not, just because this is an open meeting.
Because this.
So my recommendation would be, as done with personnel board meetings, maybe just go over the general, kind of on your first page, the result of all your sections,
It's
the
too
general
late.
overview without going into detail.
It's too late. We just went into all the details.
Well,
All right, I'm still here, guys. So what do you,
yeah, I'm moving out, man.
Okay. I don't know where we're at on this one at this point.
Bill, I don't think you have a problem, Bill.
Okay, all right. I think I do, but maybe not. So anyway, let's hear your comment, Brent, and let's continue.
My comment?
Was her ability to delegate?
Yeah, her ability to delegate, I think, is exceptional. And I think that's why we get a lot of things done here, because everyone who works with her, she brings everyone in, and she's as a manager, she's managing her people, and she's not trying to do everything herself, which I think is a great quality.
Okay, I will add that to the comment part of the productivity criteria, Brent.
Bill, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, good. Do you know if this deviates much, if at all, from last year's performance review?
I don't, but I could.
I'm just wondering, people have it, and I'm sure Mark was going to compare this to last year. Most people do. So it would be a good thing just to see if you marked her down in some areas or marked her up, but particularly if you've marked her down in some areas.
Do you want me to?
If you don't need to do that now, that's fine. If you can send that, you can send me
I
an
can
email.
do. I have.
Send us an email.
Pardon?
I mean, you could send out an email later on that says, it's the same, or she's improved, or we marked her down,
Okay.
in these areas to save time here. But I just think that would be helpful to know. What do you think, Russ?
That should be done before we get to this phase.
I can't hear you, Russ. Speak up, Russ. Louder.
Louder, okay. Any better?
What did you say?
Yeah. Is it any better? Am I loud enough?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All set.
Yeah.
Say something.
Okay. Well, this really should be done right up front before you get into the details. And I think that's what Mark may be looking for, is what's changed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The review last year. The review last year did not use this form.
Of course not.
Why would we do that?
Bill, the other thing is,
The review last year was employee's self-evaluation. So it did not use, this form was used previously several years ago, but it's back again, but it was not used last year. Last year, to my understanding, and I have a copy of it here, is a self-evaluation by Pam that was given to Mark.
Bill?
Mary Ann.
Okay, the other thing that when I always look at evaluations and there's something that's not exceptional, let's say, what are your expectations for her to reach the next level? So I think, after the evaluation, maybe we want to then define some of the things that we feel that she needs to do to reach maybe that, above expectations or exceptional level. Because I think that's what the important part is once you evaluate her, then what's the next step to get her to the next level?
It depends on the organization, particularly what I found in towns. And again, Russ, you can weigh in on this. They look askance at marking anybody exceptional.
Right.
That's why a lot of companies are going away from these kind of performance evaluations, because I know, and my wife, she's a teacher and she's exceptional, but you have to almost justify, well, how can this be exceptional? We only want 10% of it at the most to be marked exceptional. So I just don't think that's worth our time. But that's why I want to know, though, where we were. And Bill, you may just have to compare general categories to see where she marked herself and where we're going to mark her, just to make sure that we're sort of in a line. And that might not be completely apples to apples, but you can get a general sense, I think, from reading both, where we are. I know a lot of us would probably like to mark her exception. The town's not going to accept that. At least that's been my experience in the past. Is that what you have found, Russ?
Yes, I'd also want to just bring up one other item. What I've seen over the years is once you give somebody an exceptional rating, they're hard pressed. The manager is hard pressed to change that.
Right.
Because it was exceptional last year, and if I notice something has changed a little, but yet that means I'm not going to classify them this year as as doing as good a job as they did last year.
Right.
That becomes a bit of a challenge to the manager.
I only marked her exceptional in these, I think, 4 places, which is way less than 10%. The willingness to take on extra work when required, the circumstances required. I do feel that she does do that in an exceptional way. That was one of the exceptionals. Another one was a team player, maintains open communication with other employees in the organization, and is conscientious, dependable, and hardworking. I think she's exceptional in that area.
Well,
maybe above expert.
I think it's more if she's at meet expectations and moving to the above expectations, because aren't there are 5 different ones. Exceptional is the top one, then it's above expectation, meet expectation. I'm just saying defining some more of, and you put that in a narrative, or you put some positive things in the narrative, and it's too bad it all can't be narrative, because that would really tell the true essence of her evaluation. But I'm just saying, if there's something that we feel that she could improve upon, I'm not saying she has to reach exceptional. I'm just saying her improvement. We need, is there an improvement area that she, could, move on. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. Do you
Yeah,
want
but Bill, meets expectations is the one right under exceptional?
No, above expectations.
Oh, above expectations.
Let me read you the criteria for exceptional. Outstanding performance results far exceed the position requirements, including all individual objective areas. That's exceptional. Then the next one down is above expectations. Performance surpasses that expected of experienced and qualified individuals in this position. Performance consistently meets and often exceeds standards. Individual shows initiative, motivation, and versatility, provides leadership, is highly productive, innovative, and responsive. That's above. Meets expectations. Performance is at a level expected of experienced and qualified individuals in this position. Performance meets all standards. Employees is considered fully competent. Then the next one down is does not meet expectations,
Mhm.
sometimes meets performance standards. Performance in the majority areas below level expected. And then there's unsatisfactory, which says it fails to meet position requirements.
Bill, what was the fourth one? What
Fourth
was
one
the
was,
fourth one?
does not meet expectations.
So
And
No,
And the
how
last one-
many, go ahead, I'm sorry.
the last one, Marie, is unsatisfactory. Okay, Doug, sorry.
So how many meets, and then how many exceeds, and you have 4 exceptional? So just trying to get a picture of,
I can tell you in a second, meets expectations. Let's see, there's 2, 4, 6, 8 meets expectations. And above expectations is 3, and 4 is 7, and 4 is 11, and 5 is 16.
oh, okay. And
And-
4 are exceptional.
Right.
Okay. I'm just looking at it is hard to judge this without really seeing everything, but to me, that sounds about a right mix of meets, succeeds, and exceptional.
The other exceptional that I had here was, where is it? Team player maintains open communications with other employees in the organization, is conscientious, dependable, and hardworking. That was an exceptional. And the other one is willingly places extra time and efforts to meet deadlines, accomplish goals, assumes additional responsibilities as needed. That was an exceptional. Now, maybe I should downgrade those, or I just felt that those were areas that she really outdid herself, made real efforts to.
I'm good with you on these
no,
myself.
If you're saying something, Carol, we can't hear you. Can't hear you, Carol.
There we go, unmute. Those numbers for exceptional, the 4 exceptionals, 16 above, 8 meet are not, that's not an unusual mix. I think that's a very reasonable mix. Doesn't raise any eyebrows, I'm
So-
I'm fine with those numbers.
Is there anybody else want to say anything?
the only time you start to raise a concern is when you see the evaluation has come back and they're all 5 for exceptional performance.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, that at that point you start to question, or should question, why is that person getting 5 on everything?
mhm.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And that's not an effective management task.
Bill,
Watch
Bill,
out.
Yes,
I'm going to get back to the fact that we're discussing personnel in public session, and I don't feel that I don't feel comfortable doing this. So I think at this time, I would like to offer a suggestion that we don't continue this discussion, and then maybe later on, we can figure out how we do discuss personnel, because this is a public session and usually go into executive session to discuss things like.
well, that was kind of worrying me, but
Yeah.
we decided to proceed. So at this point, I think we've probably said everything we're going to say, and pardon?
I know you can't see me, but can you hear me okay?
I can,
Robert's Rules of Order, I believe what you can do is go into executive session.
Mike, I can't understand you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but you're very muffled.
Muffled.
According to Robert's Rules of Order, I believe that you can go into executive session. And I don't know about the recording bit of stuff because this is all new technology. But if you go into executive session, I believe that's when you can turn the both cameras off and then have the discussion privately. I know when I was on the personnel board years ago, we would go into executive session and that information when it dealt with personnel matters, it was not recorded per se. It was all in executive session.
Unfortunately, it's too late to do that.
No, I'm saying for the future.
Okay, for the future.
And if you go into executive session now, we vote to go into executive session, and then everything is, you could ask Tim, is that who's on the line, to basically block you out at that point.
What
I
I
don't
think,
know
what,
if it's legal, but it's worth a try.
well, now is too late.
Well, we're still discussing.
Well, what I think I will do, I think, my guess is we're pretty much discussed anything anybody wants. Is there anything anybody else wants to say? Are we comfortable with what has been said at this point?
I'm good.
Yes, I am.
Okay, so what I will do, just to make this thing somewhat executive session, why don't you regular members send me an email with your yes or no?
Be sure not to do reply all or anything. This
Yes.
needs to be one person to you, right, Bill?
Exactly. To me,
It's not to everybody.
exactly. And
Okay.
I don't know if this is going to clarify or help or whatever, but at least I think it'll do what it has to do. So
I just got a text from Vanessa at Town Hall and asked if I was on the COA call. And I said, yes, what do you think? So we might be getting a little input.
well, anyway,
Okay, disaster, no executive session allowed,
Right.
just for
Oh.
clarification.
okay, so I guess we did what we had to do.
Okay,
Oh.
good.
Well, I'm not happy with it, but that's okay. So let's move on. And regular members, please send me directly, only me, a yay or nay as to the your satisfaction with this report, or if you have a comment that you would like me to add to the comment section, say that too, and I will add that to this evaluation before I send it in.
So do we have to vote in that email or do we just say approve
Well, that's
with
your vote.
comments? That's my, okay, good, okay.
Yay or nay, and if you have a comment that you'd like to make that you want me to add to this, I will do that too.
Very good.
Okay, are we sort of happy except for me with this? I may go to jail, but I'll send you an email. I'll
And
send
this
you an
is-
email.
Come visit.
And as far as the minutes go, Marie, I don't, other than to say that we did an evaluation of, a performance evaluation of Pam, that's all you need to put in the minutes.
Okay,
Unless somebody's at a higher thing says you gotta do something else. So let's move on to the next item on the agenda, which is gone. Here it is. Oh, first of all, Brent, did you send in a renewal form to Lori?
I didn't yet because I was confused by the form, but.
Yeah, so were
I'll get
others.
it done.
Okay, so you're on, you've communicated with Laurie. Just so you'll know, Judy Boland is not renewing her membership with the Council on Aging. And regards to Arthur Holmes, I was told that he wasn't gonna renew, so I called him just to chat with him about it, and he was all upset because he said, yes, I want to stay on. And I could hear his daughter in the background saying, who you talking to? And he said, Bill Harrington, Council on Aging. She said, then I said, is Lynn there? And she came on. She says, he does not want to, he is not able to stay on the Council on Aging. So she says he's kind of having some issues and we don't feel that he should be, should be a member of the Council on Aging. So they made the decision for him that he isn't going to be on the council anymore, which is kind of a tough decision for all of us because he certainly was a valued member. So I thought I'd just send him a little card or something, but I didn't know what to say. I can't say congratulations on retirement because he doesn't want to be retired. So that's kind of tough. But I will send him a little note just saying we're going to miss him. So that's the story on poor Arthur. All right, moving right along. Friends report. Mary Ann, do you have anything about Friends? Oh,
Well,
wait a minute.
Are you glad Pam in?
Well, I gotta get Pam in.
Pam in.
okay.
There, where are you, Pam? There's Pam. I forgot to admit you, but I just mentioned about the members and about the fact that Judy isn't gonna renew her membership on the council and that Arthur is not gonna be on the council and he would like to be on the council, but his family said that it's not appropriate, that he's kind of losing it a little bit. And so I talked to his daughter and she said, no, he isn't gonna renew. So that's where we are. So we're gonna move on. Friends report, Mary Ann.
Okay, well, we voted to give some additional money to the emergency fund so that Pam and Cindy and Leslie can make that decision along with, they partner with the Youth and Family Services and the food pantry. And there was some additional funds that were needed through that. So that's kind of where we are at right now. As far as any of our fundraisers happening in the fall, we are just playing it by ear right now to see what's going to happen with that. So we're kind of, in the same queue that we are right now, just, holding tight and just moving along. So that's kind of what's been happening there.
Okay, thank
So
you.
hopefully we'll be able to have the golf tournament though, right? I mean, they've been playing golf.
Well,
Is that, I mean, that's such a big fundraiser.
Yeah, Joan, did you talk to Joan about it, Mary Ann, or?
no, I haven't talked to Joan about that at all.
The last she said was, it's not so much the tournament, it's the banquet after.
Oh,
And that's where the funds come in. It's not off of the tournament itself, it's off the extra, the raffles and that kind of stuff. And that, I don't know if that's even gonna be, you know what I mean? I'm not sure if
Yeah.
that's gonna be possible. So she wasn't sure. If we haven't heard much from her, but I don't know, at this point, she might be just taking a wait and see what's happening in the next month or two. I don't know.
Even with the carts,
Yeah,
well, whatever. Yeah, wait and see.
yeah.
I think we have to be flexible on that decision at this point. Bay
I think we just
Path,
have to- I'm sorry, Bill, go ahead.
are you through, Mary Ann?
I'm finished, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bay Path, Joyce,
Um,
anything happening?
Yes, we had a Zoom meeting and met Joseph Quirk, the executive director. And he is really making a lot of positive changes, very hands-on and interested in seeing what can be done. His priorities are turnover of personnel, morale, and also he's very interested on Council on Aging's, the relationship between Bay Path and us. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions to Joyce about that? Okay. Legislative report, anything? Doug?
no. The legislator's not in session as far as I know.
Okay.
We got other things to worry about right now.
Okay. The status of future programming, is there such a thing?
Yeah, there's a thing. It's we got a lot of plans. We don't know what's gonna actually happen. What we've done basically is planned kind of options. So we're gonna do some drive-through programs. We're gonna, Peg is working on looking into some Zoom things. We're actually leaning more towards cable than Zoom because everybody can access that, whereas a lot of people don't really know how to access Zoom, and some of our people don't even use computers. So, you know, we're going to try to do a little of everything, but in the very beginning here, we're going to lean a little bit in the direction of cable. So, and the other part of it, so it's pretty much going to be cable, drive-through, and some Zoom is what we're working on. If we can possibly at some point do some small group stuff while we can be outside for the next few months. That's another thing that's in the works that's pretty easy to set up quickly. If we were to do a yoga class or a Tai Chi class on the lawn, you know, structure it a way that it's safe. That's pretty easy to do quickly because we've already have people that were in those classes before. And what else? So we've got a couple of drive-through things planned as kind of test runs. We're going to do a test, kind of a real test run at the end of June to see how the drive-through things work. In July, we've got plans to do a kind of a drive-through St. Patrick's Day party. People had already signed up for St. Patrick's Day, kind of they can get a meal from Kennedy. It'll be Kennedy's will be there to help with that. And we already have all the St. Patrick's Day stuff upstairs. So, you know, we'll have music, we'll have the staff there, people drive through, and then they take things home. And also kind of a Tina Bemis version too, that people had already signed up for. And then we can really start with some planning in the newsletter for August programs, same types of things, some drive-through programs and different things where people can sign up because they'll have gotten the newsletter. And then we're looking into the fall, but we have to do a wait and see. So we can set up some programs pretty quickly as things change. So we've got quite a list. And if you guys have any suggestions on ideas that you want us to try, let us know, especially that drive-through version. If there's any themes or anything like that that you'd like us to use. It's all about saying hi to people and letting them know that we're still there and having something on the calendar at this point.
Pam, are any of the exercise programs being done via Zoom? I mean, a lot of the senior centers are doing that.
Yeah, no, our instructors weren't interested in doing it.
Okay.
So rebooting with a brand new instructor without being able to get that information out to a lot of people just didn't seem practical.
Yeah.
You know, I think they are interested in doing a version outside if we can. And like I said, those are pretty easy to, you know, take care of the people that, or at least offer something to the people that were already in those classes. And that's where we are with that. It just didn't seem practical to go hunt down a new instructor and reboot it at this point.
Yeah, that's just too bad. I mean, I agree with you there. It's just too bad that they didn't want to do, you know, Zoom classes and sort of keep the people, you know, that have already signed up and are involved in, you know, the Tai Chi or whatever they are. They keep it going because it's done pretty widely. By other instructors.
Well, the recreation department was provided a Zoom yoga class to the town. So that was nice. I did it last night. So there are some things available.
Yeah, and it just, for us, it just didn't seem practical at this point. If we couldn't use our regular people for that. But, you know, it's not out of the question. You know, if we keep going in this direction, you know, we will have to look into more of that and rebooting the entire programs if, you know, if it comes to that. Right now, I'm kind of trying to be a little bit optimistic about while the weather is good, that hopefully sometime this summer we'll be able to do something on the lawn or a variation of something.
Yeah. I hope so too. It's just that, you know, the exercise programs are every week though, you know, and might be hard to do something every week. Or can you do something every week, like, you know, Tai Chi every Tuesdays on the lawn or yoga on the lawn?
Yeah, I mean, weather permitting, that would be
Right.
my plan. As soon as we can, you know, I'm working with Emily with the Board of Health, you know, to figure out when to start these things. Right now, the buildings aren't even open. So people couldn't even come in and, you know, use the bathrooms at this point. So there's a lot of things that, you know, I'm pretty comfortable with the plan just because it's easy to start quickly.
Mhm.
You know, the outside part of it, just because we already have a list of people that already take the class. You know, approach them first and then go from there, depending on how many people. But yeah, that's where we're at with it. And the fall could bring a whole different set of things. You know, a whole reboot of people that are willing to do Zoom programs for us.
Another thing that may have a bearing on the Zoom classes is the fact that it would probably have to be on the Zoom town website, town Zoom account. And they're limited to 2 at a time and would depend on, you'd have to get your schedule in and make sure you could get the times you wanted to do those. I think.
I don't know if it would have to be that way. I mean, I've seen others that are, you know, I mean, the instructors can set up their own personal Zoom account.
It's very inexpensive. It's $150 for unlimited. So you can do it 40 minutes for free or $150 if you want to pay to have unlimited Zoom. So it's cheap money.
Well, there are instructors out there that are probably doing this kind of widespread as a business. So, you know, if we do end up doing that and rebooting things, hopefully by then there'll be people out there that we can just pick up on that are already doing it. And just, you know, do that. I'd rather keep the people that we have.
Sure.
But I think this just wasn't their thing. You know, I don't know if they've said no on the long-term basis, but at this point they weren't interested. So.
Yeah, I would just like to see, maybe we think about it hard for next, and in July, we take a look at it again. I mean, I know Needham, for example, they do painting classes online from an instructor. They do, all their fitness programs are on Zoom, and their instructors are doing it. It's a really pretty full schedule that they have for people. And
yeah, the local senior centers, the ones that are closer to our size, are all over the map. Some are not doing it at all. Some are doing a few, and some are better at it. Basically, this is a learning curve for us to even figure out how to do it at all. And I think that might be the case with our instructors too. So, you know, I think there are a few of the big senior centers like Needham or those places that, you know, maybe they're more savvy than we are and they convert it over quicker. And there are a couple like local ones that are kind of doing more of it than we are. I look at our clientele and I think there are some people out there that will take advantage of it. Initially, I'm not sure how many participants we'll get. It would be something that we'd have to build up on. And I basically we're concentrating too on stuff that we can get out to everybody. I'm really concerned about getting programming out there to people that are more isolated and less computer savvy at this point. And that's why we were leaning towards cable, and getting the cable information out to people through the newsletter, kind of driving them in that direction. Because we've got an astronomy program. Peg was looking at a sing-along kind of thing. There's a musician. There's the legal programs that Arthur's going to do. There's a couple more things that she's got in the bucket for August or into September at this point. So,
so yeah,
Can I just say something? I just wanted to say, I live with a bunch of seniors here, and what I've heard some of them say is they go to a restaurant that does curbside or pickup, and they meet somewhere in their cars and they eat in their cars, but they can talk to each other. They seem to like doing that. I wouldn't like it, but they like it.
Yeah, I
Maybe
don't
you
know.
could do something like that
Yeah,
out in
I
the
don't know if
parking lot and
that,
have
you have to be careful with that too. I mean, you have to, people, if you're organizing it, people have to still keep their distance. Like you can't park two cars like real
Right.
close together, that kind of thing. So there's issues around that. But that's the, you know, basically people can pick up their meals on these parties, and there's a lot of that stuff that we're gonna do, the drive-through kind of thing, like you were talking about. But as far as eating together and that kind of thing, that's not part of our plan
Mhm.
right now anyways. I mean, it's a fluid situation and we're just gonna look at it actually like week by week at this point. And see where we end up. You know, if in the fall we end up back being able to use the building for small groups and things like that, then we may migrate that way. I'm not sure what's going to be possible. So we've got a bunch of contingency plans at this point. But I do think if this goes on long term, we definitely have to use all our options to cover all our bases, basically.
Mary Ann?
Yeah, Bill had sent me an email about the WISE program at Assumption College. And and that would be something that probably in the fall, we might want to advertise in our newsletter, because that right now they're doing everything online. And I'm assuming because it is a kind of a senior extended education learning program, that they probably will continue that online through the fall. And they seem to have increased their numbers, so they can take up to, I don't know, 50, 80, whatever participants, because it is online. So that may be something that you might want to look into to see if that can't be offered to our senior community.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea. A couple of things in the newsletter. We're going to put in a lot of information about what other departments are doing, what else is going on that people might be interested in, but also different types of programs that already exist out there. We may be able to offer those, use some funding to supplement the cost. You know, if something's, you know, expensive or, you know, there are different ways where we can kind of use things that are already out there and make them more affordable for people. So I think there's a whole ton of options that, you know, this fall we'll have to look into if we're still going down this road.
Because Regis, I think, also has a program like that.
Yep.
Assumption and Regis. So if they do things online, that could be a connection.
Some of the best things, if there are existing programs and they're working and we can tap into them, you know, that's the best case scenario. Creating something from scratch right now is, you know, Peg's really working hard on it. It's more of a challenge for us, especially if we have, you know, if the instructor already knows what they're doing, they already have their programs, they already know how to set the Zoom up. You know, as far as the exercise classes, there's a whole bunch of other stuff there. There's insurance and liability and to run a fitness class and all that stuff for when you're putting it out there and people are doing it at home, it brings up a bunch of other issues too. So, you know, there's a few other issues. So we're looking at all of it.
Yeah, is it possible to look at the Sudburys and the Marlboros and the et cetera, and have our folks, you know, join them? Like you said, I mean, if, you know, I think that's, if we can just share that information and say, you can join, this is what the cost is, or whatever it might be. I don't even know if there is a cost to some of these, you know, Zoom situations, because I think it's just important that they, you know, that folks have a lot of options, particularly when it comes to exercise, because, you know, outside of walking, there's not a lot that people, you know, can do. And it's good if they can join a Tai Chi class once a week, or a chair yoga class, or whatever it is they might be doing, Zumba or whatever. I mean, they're all out there. And if we can just let the folks know that you can go join, and it doesn't put the extra burden of work on you and you and Peg.
Yeah, I think, I mean, if there are things out there that we can join up with that already exist and they're already working, I think that is the easiest way to bring things, you know, it's already a proven product. And I'm hoping, you know, there are a lot of fitness places out there that are reinventing themselves in that way. I talked to Tilt, which was Pennant, and they, you know, at this point, they said they had their hands full with their membership group. So they weren't interested in pursuing that with us at this point. But we can also reach out to, other places like that and other instructors that are already doing it as a business.
I was thinking more of the other COAs. Can we share what they're doing? Only because again, it's already all set up. It's all been,
Yeah,
you know?
nobody's really, I think it's more, I talk to them every couple of weeks, the other directors, and everybody's kind of struggling at this point.
Mhm.
So we really haven't broached that subject, but duplicating what they have is, we've definitely thought about that. I'm definitely not against that by any means. If we can join up and join forces, that's great. It's just been a little, it's still a little bumpy for everybody right now.
Mhm.
To kind of,
No, I understand that. I just think I'm less optimistic about getting back in person, from what I hear. I mean, I think it's going to be well into the fall, maybe even, November or December before
Yep.
you're really going to be doing much. That's a long time. And
yeah, and
so
I'd rather,
I think we
if we
should
can-
prepare to be more online on cable. And I'll tell the other folks now, Arthur and I had been doing a monthly Frank and Mary show. We're now doing it weekly, and we do a Zoom Frank and Mary show that the local cable records, then edits, then publishes. So that's another possibility even for some of the other things to do. You do it by Zoom, the people then can't Zoom will then see it as on cable, because cable is a good, I think, way to connect with a lot of seniors that don't have other technology.
yeah, I guess we're looking at it more at this point. I'm trying to grab as much of the summer and the good weather, if we can start those outdoor programs. Grab as much of that as we can, do as much as we can outside. As we develop these other things, Zoom, cable, kind of try to do them simultaneously.
Mhm.
If we get the okay to go ahead and do something like that. Like I said, it's kind of like a multi-tiered plan,
Mhm.
depending on when we can start. But I mean, I would love that if we could, do the things outside and then convert over would be, focus on the outside things if that's going to fly while we have good weather. That's
Well,
kind of how I was looking at that for now.
The other thing, Pam, if the building opens up in September, that an instructor could come there and do a cable or Zoom program, and maybe not have, the people, maybe they still have to be at home, that might be a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is. We'll have to, like I said, I'd like to talk more to our current instructors and see if they would be open to something like that.
The current Tai Chi instructors are so in tune with their each participant. It's incredible that it really matters to them that they can see you or help you answer questions.
I agree. That would be absolutely my preference, is to use our current instructors, initially. But I have to see where they're at. I mean, we talked to them initially. We haven't really discussed it much since then, because we've kind of been scrambling around trying to get everything else done. But yeah, all of those are possibilities.
Would you be against maybe contacting one of the Tai Chi instructors to do if we could social distance something in the parking lot?
It's a possibility. What I have to do right now is I'm taking my guidelines from Emily, from the Board of Health.
Sure.
And at this point, we're not moving forward in that particular direction. Not as of today. I mean, that could change in 2 weeks.
Okay.
I mean, I'm kind of hoping it does. I'm hoping we're progressing in that direction, and we can, like I said, these things are easy to start up. We've already got the people. We don't have to advertise it. If we get the okay from Emily, we will call the instructors. They said they are absolutely willing to come and do the programs outside. So we could get something up and running quick once we're okay with that. The other issue that we have, even with that, is even if those things are okay, it's bathroom facilities. At this point, the public, is not allowed in the building. So, that's another hitch that we have to wait for everything to come together.
How about a porta potty? That's what the golf courses are doing.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a little bit about that. I mean, it definitely would be something we'd have to look into.
Right.
I'm kind of hoping some of these things coincide with each other, that, maybe by the time we can start the program, we can use the bathrooms. So that's why I'm just taking a kind of a week by week kind of look at it to see what we can do. But my preference would be to start these programs, do the ones we have in July. If we get the okay, that it's safe to do things outside, we'll start those up and focus on our plan for August. That's going to be in the newsletter, which is going to include a bunch of the drive-through programs, as well as, I don't know, the 3 or 4 things on cable. And I think she's got one Zoom that she's trying to work on, a music type program. But it's been challenging. Peg's really had her hands full trying to figure out all these things, and the logistics of cable is even a challenge at this point. She's, we're new to it. So she's been working really hard to get us there. And I think if we have to keep going, we'll get there. It's just going to take us a little while.
Okay, can we, I think we kind of covered this. Can we move on to the outreach? What's happening with outreach at this point? I think that's,
Outreach has
Cindy's
been,
probably having her times right now.
yeah, initially, when we shut down, we immediately switched over to basically our outreach section to focus on the folks that were at home, to make sure everybody was okay, to make sure everybody had what they needed. And I'm not sure, about 40 of those people, Cindy still reaches out to them every week or every other week, because she's been really busy right now. We talked to probably 400 to 500 people on the phone, check in with people, make sure they had our information. We were part of a townwide mailing that happened a few weeks ago that has all the information of how to access us, Youth and Family Services, Food Pantry, Emergency Fund. That was supposed to go to every household in town. We put out information on My Southborough, there's on our website, on the town's website. Sorry. Yeah, we did a ton of outreach, and Cindy's had a lot of cases, a lot of different things, not necessarily COVID related. There just been a lot of things happening with a lot of people that had to be addressed, and some of them have been, serious cases. So she's had her hands full. So it's kind of those two pieces, dealing with, what's coming to us, and, really pushing the outreach so people know where to call if they need anything.
That's it on Cindy, outreach. Volunteer appreciation, where did that end up? What's your revised plan?
The
for that?
revised plan is to, Peg put together, like a nice, looks like a nice invitation, but it's really a nice thank you note kind of thing. And we used formula grant money was allowed to be used to purchase gift cards as opposed to the luncheon kind of thing. So those should be going out in the next 3 weeks or so. We should have those out the door. There were gift cards to, some of them we did half and half. Some of them are Kennedy's because we work with them a lot. And the other half is Zoomies because that's a restaurant that's been doing a lot in town. So we kind of split it up for to give a couple places, the business. So that's in the process. The other thing that's going on as far as getting stuff out the door, while I'm thinking of it, is the refunds to people. We had 5 programs that were, we had money, we were holding money or checks for. So that all the checks have been mailed out and returned. or if you haven't, if you have anything like that, you should have them in the next day or so. And we've got a plan to turn back any donations that were, given to us for the programs. It's all organized, it's all ready to go. I think Lorraine and I are gonna try to tackle that next week, figure out a safe way for people to come and pick it up, because we can't put that in the mail. So we have a plan. It's gonna take, it's probably gonna take a couple of days to get that back to people. We need to make a bunch of phone calls and have some folks come and safely pick it up. So I think we'll be sitting on the lawn that day too, as people come in to get their money. But it's super organized. Helene Harrington was a huge help in organizing all, because we had people that signed up for one thing, we had people that signed up for 5 things. So Helene and her spreadsheet made our lives a whole heck of a lot easier. She did an incredible job with it. So yeah, so the check part of it has been taken care of. Any deposits have been taken care of. All that Friends stuff is all in good shape. We just have that last piece to do. So we had that mailing. We have to do the volunteer luncheon kind of mailing. We did the return mailing. I would like to do a mailing. We did a lot of work on the town census. We cross-referenced the town census with all of our information that's in My Senior Center to try to get a really good, solid list of seniors in town. So that took a lot of work to get that right. And what we're basically left with is a bunch of people that we don't know who they are. And we don't know if they're still in town or not. No, we don't. We did a bunch of different ways to find out if anybody knew these people. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a mailing. And there's going to be a form that's going to be in the newsletter too, that's going to basically ask people for their information, for their emails, and to update their contact information, so we can update all of that in our system. But along with that, we're going to send a separate mailing out to these people who we don't know who they are, and just let them know that, we're here. If they want to contact us, and we don't have their information, if they want to give that to us, we'll include a form. What'll happen with that is either we may or may not get a form back on those people, but what we'll do is if the person is not still in town, we'll get the return mail, and then we can clean the list up that way. So it took a lot of different layers and cross-referencing and talking to some local people that know everybody in town to try to whittle that down. Because I would hate to miss some people that are out there. The town-wide mailing also helped with that too, to make me feel comfortable that in one way or another, we've hopefully reached out to all of the seniors. Because we've tried every single way possible that we know of. So that was kind of the ultimate way to make sure nobody fell through the cracks. So that
Quick
was
question.
a lot of work too.
Quick question, Pam. When you say a bunch, is that 50, 100, 20?
We did 80 plus is what we really focused in on.
Okay.
To see what was left. And there's probably, I don't know, maybe 40 people or something like that,
Okay.
30, 40. And a lot of them may be living with adult children in town too. And that's why, they're not directly on our radar, but we have the names. So I also gave that whole sheet back to Jim Haggerty so he could update his records too. And so we're gonna do another cross-reference after he updates, just to see, because a lot of people move in town, a lot of people move out of town, and yeah, right now we focused on that 80 plus. Everybody else will get, hopefully get the newsletter or reach out to us in some way, but that's where we started, was that group.
Okay. Next item is the budget update. If you can figure out how the budget's going at this point, Pam?
Yeah, I think we're fine. We did have that 2% cut. And what we took out of the budget with that was, and that's what stuck. They asked for a couple of different versions, like a 2% and a 10%. And so they went with the 2%. As far as I know, the selectmen, there still seems to be some debate between the selectmen and advisory. I don't think they've got everything on the same page quite yet, but that's what they seem to be working on. But as far as we're concerned, the biggest chunk of that came out of, we just took the fall conference off because that's not going to happen.
Mhm.
So
I
there
didn't
was
hear what that, I didn't hear what that was for you.
the fall
Okay.
conference.
Oh, okay.
That once a year conference that we usually go to, where we usually have board members and some staff members go for one night. So obviously that's not going to happen this year. So that was the main part of it. There was a small amount of money taken out of programs, and there was another maybe $1,000 that came out of like additional furniture, replacement furniture, which we always put in there in case something breaks, by the end of the year. So it wasn't too bad. My concern is that the following year, we're able to put that back into the budget. That's always the challenge if something comes out. So, I feel really comfortable that, going into it, we're going to be okay. The other thing that's going to happen or could happen is the formula grant. We don't know what's going to happen with that either. That definitely could be reduced based on the state budgets. So we don't know yet. And MCOA doesn't seem to know where that's going to go. So hopefully it's not a large amount of money if it is reduced. But we have that too. So, and Friends, we have obviously not been expending a lot of money out of the Friends, and going into this, they're in good shape. Unfortunately, the autumn fair, I would think is probably somewhat unlikely, right, Mary Ann? And yeah, and the golf tournament's questionable. So the fortunate part is we are going in pretty good shape. So I feel okay at this point. That even if things turned around halfway through the year, we could really be successful. Just a matter of if we can get programming back up and running, and hopefully maybe we can start really small and getting these things up and running. I'm not optimistic about having a bus trip for quite a long time. I think that's probably going to be the last things on the list. And large group type things are going to be way down on the list. We're going to start small with whatever we can do, along with the guidance from Board of Health.
Okay. Did somebody want to say something?
Yeah, I have a question, Pam. What about FY20 budget? Obviously, everything got shut down
Yep.
before the end of this fiscal year. We're approaching July 1.
Mhm.
Yeah. How has that funding been affected by all of this shutdown? Do we have
Yeah,
money?
In the beginning, when this started, fairly early on, we got the word that the only spending we could do was essential spending. So the only spending that's been happening out of the town budget has been, we've been paying the cable bill, kind of keeping that going. We've been paying, obviously, salaries. We've shut down, the water, bottled water delivery. We've shut down the newspaper, those small things. And there's been no programs. And that money will be turned back to the town. So that word was given to us way back in March.
Do you have any idea what that number is?
Yeah, it's probably 25,000, 30,000,
Okay.
something like that. At this point. So there was a lot. The other thing, what happened was there was a ton of, I knew it was going to be a good size. Well, we're talking March, so we're talking more than a third of the year. And unfortunately, this was one of our biggest programming seasons that we were ever going to have. Things were so popular, and basically this was going to be a big season for us. Once the good weather hit, there was a lot of stuff planned that didn't happen.
Can you, for your planning between now and July 1 for outdoor activities, it might incur some extra costs. Can any of that money be used before we have to give it back?
The word has been essential spending only at this point. So you have to basically get approval before you spend anything. So the other part of that is I did have, I had the same problem with the formula grant. A part of that was programming money. There was the pennant class was in there, the Tai Chi class was in there. So that money had to be expended. So we had to go through, first of all, Elder Affairs and MCOA had to regroup on all of that and revise what we could spend it on, because everybody, we have a decent amount of money. We're grateful for it right now, but there are some of the big cities and things, they were dealing with a lot more money and different things. So they had to loosen up their restrictions on what we could do with the money. So what we did with the additional funds that on the formula grant was they were encouraging mobility basically for the staff under these circumstances. So we were able to purchase 2 laptops. We worked with Tom, the IT guy for the town, who's amazing. We purchased a laptop for Cindy and one for Peg, which made life a whole lot easier for them than trying to go through their own computers at home. They were able to kind of get access, but going through your own computer is much more of a challenge, accessing different files and things. So that has helped them a lot. And we purchased those. We were in the need to replace the round tables in the function room that we have, those heavy ones you can open with one hand. A lot of those were in bad shape. So we replaced 5 of those. We're gonna do some of the long tables. That's my last purchase. What I have left is to replace some of the other tables. But yeah, we had to reboot all of those things, figure out how much money we had left and spend it. So at this point, that's taken care of. And on the town side, yeah, they said anything. The other part on the formula grant was I did buy some supplies for the programs that are coming up, which I normally spend out of town funds, but I spent it out of formula grant because we didn't want to lose it, basically. But yeah, the other stuff.
You've learned how to juggle.
I hope so by now. Yeah, there was a lot of juggling on and priorities. As far as that was concerned, we needed to spend that money first. And we got, we got what we needed, kind of thing. It's just really unfortunate that, we're not going to be able to spend that money. I think the saddest part for me is that we're losing all of those programs. There was a ton of cool stuff that we were going to do, and it's just that's just kind of a bummer that we didn't get to do them. The good part is going into next year, once we can do these things, we have the money to do it. So we're really fortunate in that respect. Hopefully that's sooner than later.
Okay, thank you. Moving along, senior center renovations. As you know, we talked to the Board of Selectmen. We also talked to advisory board and gave them our plea. And recently we talked to the new capital planning committee. I had Brent and Howie Anderson, and I took our presentation and just reworked it to make it appropriate to talk to the capital planning committee. We gave our presentation. It was accepted. I think we did well. I think we have their attention. I think now it's just a waiting game. The committee has numerous projects, capital projects that they're looking at, and they're going to try and prioritize them over the next 5 years or so. We're in the queue at this point. I don't know what further we can do to plead our cause. I think we've done an effort to get the renovations going. We'll see what happens in the future. One plus is that the facilities department has, based on the town warrant coming up, town meeting coming up, in their budget, they have $25,000 to add in additional toilet in the existing footprint of the building. Will actually be behind the stairway, sort of, kind of, where the books are right now. They are going to add a toilet there, so we will now in the evenings have two public toilets available. Their staff is going to do most of the work, so that the cost to the facilities department at this point is $25,000 anticipated to make this one additional bathroom for the time being, which will certainly help our causes as far as accessibility. And as far as the front addition goes, we'll just have to wait and see at this point. If there's something that comes up that we can push this ahead, we certainly will. But at the moment, I think we're at the mercy of the planning and prioritizing of the capital budget committee. We certainly have the support of both the selectmen and the advisory board for this project, but we're in the queue with everybody else that has important things to do in their minds. Any questions on that? Was that a question, Sandy?
No, it wasn't.
Oh, okay. The walking challenge, what's happening on the walking challenge? Is that you?
Well, it's in April, MCOA canceled the walk challenge, which is 1 mile a day, 3 times a week. A number of the registrants announced that they wanted to continue on their own. I sent out individual emails to them, inviting them to continue with to record their mileage, because what else are we going to be doing under quarantine? There's no traffic on the road, or at least Washington. As an incentive, we're offering rewards which haven't yet been determined, for a random drawing after the September 30th conclusion. Of the 37 people who originally signed on, I had 26 yes responses that they are continuing.
Wow,
The
that's
others have
great.
either dropped out or neglected to respond. So I will be sending out another email sometime during the summer to just encourage people to keep going and what the status is on that.
That's great, Sandy. Thanks very much for your efforts on that one. That's really good. That's an amazing amount of people that are going to stick with it.
It is, and I'm sure that some of the others are still continuing, but they just didn't respond.
Mhm.
So we won't let go of them.
Oh.
That was a great thing, and we're lucky that we can continue that under these circumstances. So that program, Joyce with the gardens was another one that we could kind of reboot and keep that going.
Please come and have some lettuce. The lettuce is coming up and it's delicious. Sandy and I have been working, and anybody else who wants some herbs, come on by.
So we
Can
were
I
lucky.
come too?
Sure.
Sure. We were lucky. So we had the program with Sandy and Joyce that we were able to convert over real quickly. The other thing that I forgot to mention was Arthur Bergeron is going to do, we didn't have the space for it before. We didn't actually have a place to even put somebody, but he is willing to do kind of office hours, like 15-minute legal appointments to help people. So that it's going to be a call-in kind of thing. So that's going to come along too. So we were lucky to have those things that we could start up pretty quickly.
Good, great.
Has Shine been working too by phone?
Yep, Shine's still operating. It never really stopped. The people call in and leave a message, and then we contact Carolyn and she calls them back. So that's still up and running. The one that the other senior centers had a real challenge with is how do they keep their AARP tax programs running? That's been a real challenge because it's not something you can do over the phone really. So there was all kinds of different ways that they were going to try to have those appointments. I don't know if AARP has approved that yet, but I know that they were all working on that.
Okay, thank you. So we did cover the garden thing. Thank you, Joyce and Carol, for keeping that going. Trailblazers Club update. Anything that
Well,
can say about that at this point?
yes, I contacted Bill and Hal and Carl and myself, and we kind of put together some different websites and applications for hiking trails, biking trails, plant, bird, animal identification apps, astronomy, things to do in Massachusetts that may be open. Hal gave us a really nice, only in your state website that you can go to. And that really then specifies different things that are open and where you can go. And then just some kind of arts and cultural thing. And I put this all together, and Peg and Pam, I think they're gonna put that out in the newsletter. Is that correct, Pam? I think Peg was gonna show you, she might think it might take a whole sheet because it did end up being a full sheet. So, so that's just to give some ideas to, not just the Trailblazers, but to anyone else, but, Trailblazers, obviously, we're kind of a more active group, and we tend to want to continue that, even though we do it as a group. So, I think that will go out in the newsletter, and I certainly can send it out as an email too. But when is that newsletter going out, Pam?
We're hoping that the end of June, very beginning of July.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, we're still collecting information from the library and rec and all different, we're gonna try to put as much information that might be helpful to people from other places like yours in there.
Okay, so that's kind of what I did, to again encourage, the group and other people to, stay active and move around. And from what I've heard from people in our group, they are going out and they are walking trails and things. And there's not a large group. We've walked them personally different places, and people are masked and they keep their distance. So it seems to be working out as far as outdoor activities. So anyway, so that's going to go in the newsletter.
Thank you very much, Marianne. As far as the Dull Men's Club is concerned, I think you all know we had a parade, which from all the comments I got, I guess was a big success, either from the people who watched it, from the people who participated in it. Everybody had a good time, and a little bit of a
next
morale
one, Bill.
booster for the town for the holidays.
Thumbs up.
The other program which we're trying to get up and running is the Caregiver Meals program. That is ready to go. Again, with Board of Health approval, they were holding off because basically the state guidelines are still saying that seniors basically are, the age group should be still very cautious and staying home. So they, we're kind of holding back on letting us put volunteers out there. I will revisit that, if not today, next week with Emily again, to see if we can get that going. It's ready to roll. Kennedy's is ready. We have the funding. It's ready to go back. We also got the approval to add Cindy's other crew that she checks on to that list. So we can almost double the size of the program. We have enough volunteers to do that. I think I talked to Emily about it 2 weeks ago. So next week I'm due to talk to her again about getting that going. I still have to talk to her just to get the okay to go ahead with the first drive-through program that we're gonna do, which is a test run in late June. We're gonna reach out to you guys and a bunch of other people to try out this drive-through version of how we do things, because we want to make sure we get this timing and the traffic and make sure that's going to go okay before we really launch it out there. So we'll be talking to you guys about that. Along with that, we've been working with the library, the rec department, youth and family services as a group on the programming stuff. And we're gonna, that first test run, we're gonna distribute along with the meals. It's kind of like a coloring kind of activity thing for kids where people color this like a page of, and they put it in their window, and the kids kind of, when they drive around town, they can see who has these in their windows and things like that. And they were nice enough to include seniors with it. So everybody will get a page. They can color the drawing, they can put it in their window if they want, and we can get that out with that group. So help them out a little bit. Mary Ann loves that. You got your crayons and ready to go?
Love it, ready to go.
So, yeah, so we'll be in touch with you guys in the next couple of weeks about helping us out to be the guinea pigs. It'll be a simplified version of our party in a box kind of thing. We probably won't make it super elaborate. It's more, we don't want people crashing into each other, and to figure out how long it's going to take. And I'm a little worried about the drive-through things, you know, with people wanting to chat and things like that. We're going to have to keep the traffic going. You know, there's concerns about any kind of program that we do. The ones in the cars make it easier, but the other departments, when they're doing some things where people have to stop and pick up materials or whatever it is, you know, people can't congregate and, you know, hang out, which is a real bummer. So at least they'll get to see the staff, and hopefully nobody will run
well,
into
Pam,
each other.
Last week, Woodward School had pick up your kids' school supplies, whatever they left
Yep.
in the school.
Okay,
And they did it in their drive around.
Yep.
If you know what I mean, going into
Yep.
Woodward School and then they went down and they
Yep.
could make a turn.
and we have the horseshoe, which works really well for us, at least as an in and an out.
Right, right. But if you needed like more space for cars, because you know, you don't want people stopping on Corderville Road.
No, that's why we're gonna set it up over by the bocce court,
Right.
so we can pull in as much. And then that's why we want to do this test run, to see how, you know, if we say come between 10 and 11 when people show up, or 10 and 12, we want to just get an idea, because we don't want to end up with cars on Corderville Road. When we do the bigger programs, we'll probably designate different times for people to come, so we don't have everybody showing up at the same time.
Right.
Yeah, so there was logistical issues. So that's the first thing we want to just make sure, you know, run it once on a smaller level and see how it goes, before we jump into the bigger ones.
So this would be the senior center's version of the demolition derby?
We're hoping, well, we already had one test run with the Dull Men's, that nobody ran into each other, I don't think, on the Dull Men's parade. So I thought that was a good test.
Somehow we all stayed separated and all
Yeah.
together.
Nobody ran into each other. What I was more concerned with was a bunch of guys hanging out in the back parking lot, you know, too
Yeah.
close for comfort, but that didn't happen either, I don't think. So at least not that I know of. So
We
I
won't
think these
tell you.
drive-through things are gonna be pretty cool.
Okay, thank you. One thing that isn't on the agenda that I wanted to just bring up briefly is in March, Hal Keys agreed to attend the municipal vulnerability preparedness session, which was set up by Pear Corporation. And it was a whole day work session on talking about the vulnerability of a municipality, particularly as it related more or less to climate change, et cetera, et cetera. Hal went to that meeting. Hal sent back a report, which I sent to all of you people. Maybe you read it. I watched last night, they had a session, the Pear Corporation had a session as a result and presented the results of that meeting. And I think at first when I was talking to Hal about this, we thought maybe we should, as a council on aging, maybe go further into looking into this. But as I watched the meeting last night, and Hal, if you're there and listening, you might say a few words. But it seems like what the object of this thing was to try and get the town to not only be very much more proactive on preparedness for the vulnerable parts of our town, but to put themselves in line for a grant. They issue grants periodically and spend $1 million. The last time they offered the grant, there was 101 people or towns that submitted applications. Of those 101, 54 received some kind of a grant. They tend to be more concerned with proposals that are nature related to vulnerabilities, things like preservation of wetlands, et cetera, et cetera. So We had thought maybe we should be more proactive about getting involved in this. After watching that session, I'm not so sure that we have much that wasn't already presented to that committee by Hal. One of the things that we have to our advantage that other towns may not have is we have a really good emergency preparedness committee or council, whatever you want to call it. And a lot of what would be vulnerable to our town is already being addressed by this committee, such as sheltering and heat and air conditioning and summertime type stuff. So I'm not sure we need to pursue it too much further. Hal, if you have any, is Hal there? Does he want to say anything?
I don't think he's here.
Okay. Pam, did you want to say something about the emergency preparedness committee that we have in town?
They, I mean, a few years back, now it's probably more than a few years back, there was a ton of work done on emergency preparedness. Neil Spazey kind of led those efforts with the fire department, and there's all kinds of emergency plans that are in town as far as, you know, heat emergencies, weather emergencies, you know, the shelters. We've got a pretty good plan in place for those kinds of situations. And I'm not sure where this group is kind of going from there. I don't know where those two things cross over. So I'm going to try to find out a little bit more of where those two things intersect. At this point, I don't know enough about it myself, so I need to.
I think Neil Espasi was at this work session, so he probably explained where we are as far as a town on our emergency. One of the things that Hal mentioned in his, they divided up into 5 different groups and had discussions. And one of the things that Hal mentioned too within his group was maybe financial support for seniors that had issues as a result of a hurricane or a severe weather or a type of thing. But I don't think this is going to be in this vulnerabilities committee's purview. They're looking more at nature-related things, and I think this would be they're looking for ways to prevent the need for supporting people after the fact. That's where they're coming from. So I think Hal's done a nice job. He worked to go to this meeting for us, and I think unless Hal or anybody else here thinks we should pursue it any further, I think we'll say thanks to Hal and just wait and see what happens, see where the chips fly. Comments? Questions? Does anybody else have anything they want to bring up at this point?
I didn't mention that before. I wasn't on the agenda because it didn't come up before that. Was to talk about a little bit the tax work-off program. We're gonna probably meet again or talk a little bit more with Vanessa and Paul Stabelli and Brian about where we're possibly gonna be able to go with that this year. At this point, we're gonna postpone it a little bit, see where we land in September and see what we can kind of salvage at this point, because staff isn't even back in the building, or only if it's necessary. So bringing back tax work-off people is really challenging. So we're gonna see what we can salvage of that as soon as we can. But right now the town's concentrating on getting staff back in the building, or at least partially back in the buildings. We're not quite ready. I'm taking a good look at it. And again, that's one of those wait and see, we'll proceed as soon as we can kind of things. So hopefully we'll have people back for that in some capacity.
Thank you. Anybody else? So will you all respond to me as far as Pam's evaluation, way nay, or comments. I appreciate that very much. I think tentatively, we will have another meeting on the 10th of July. I don't think we want to meet on July 4th weekend. There may be a celebration somewhere in this world, maybe not in Southborough, I don't know. But anyway, so tentatively, we will meet again on July 10th, which is a Friday.
I may ask Peg to join us, depending on where the programming is, because, we need people to we survey people kind of one at a time, but it's kind of good to have a group weigh in on where we should go, where we shouldn't go, because we debate these things. When we can start them, how we can start them, how many people are actually going to really participate in them. And that's where we need input from you guys, to make sure we're going down the right roads that, people really want. So I may ask her if that's okay to join us on that one for a little while at least.
Well, of course, of course,
So-
of course.
And to bring up some of the challenges that maybe some of you guys might be able to help us with too. I know Carol's pretty techie at times, so, no?
At times, did you
At
hear
times.
that, Carol?
I'm
At
the one that
times.
got blown off this morning, ironically. I did solve it, though.
So, yeah, we'll see where we're at in a month.
Okay, unless there's anything else, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Oop.
Seconded.
Okay, I say yes. Sandy,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Marianne,
Yes.
Joyce,
Yes.
Mike.
Yes.
Okay, see you next month. Stay healthy and well.
Thank you so much. Good meeting.
Thank you,
Nice
Bill.
to see you
Take care,
guys.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Huh?
You shut the meeting off.
Yeah,
Meeting, so
okay.
you're done.
I guess.
Successful meeting?
I guess a lot of things, just kind of up in the air. Bill did have a thank you for you.